Hey up, I'm Guy Kestevan the Tester Man, and this is my workshop tech talk ground on Canyon's Neuron AL6, where I go through all the details in terms of frame design, suspension layout, and geometry and componentry that make it a top value trail cruiser in the low price mid-travel market. So this isn't going to be where I talk about how the bike actually rides. If you want to see how this bike rides live on my local trails, then make sure you watch the live ride review on this bike, not least because it's got otters in it, which strangely enough, kind of a bit of wildlife, and we saw a lot of it in that live ride review, really suits the whole character and the whole. It's a very German kind of category, is this kind of mountain bike touring bike, but this bike totally embodies that. And I think for a lot of people who are into natural riding more so than, say, trail centres and glorified bobsleigh runs in the Welsh hills, then this is the bike they should be looking at. And if you want something more aggro, more aggressive, then have a look at the Spectral, which doesn't get much more travel, but gets a lot more attitude built in as standard. But, as we'll see, there's some really, really nice detail on this bike, considering that at the current sale price, it's only just over £2,000, although you have got to add carriage and stuff on top of that, and the usual sort of, you're buying it direct, so you may not be supported by your local bike shop, sort of mortgage repayments statement does apply. But anyway, let's grab that camera, get up close with the details, and you'll be able to see why this is a bike I can, thoroughly recommend for just the general all-round riding that a ton of people love doing, even if it isn't the most fashionable way to spend your time on a mountain bike. So 5 sizes in the adult size, and then you've got 2 kids bikes as well, so it properly is an all-purpose bike for all the family. And as well as this swamp colour, which I really like, there's a surprise, it's called Swamp, they also do a lavender colour, which is very like the one that Jenny Risvet's has been absolutely crushing her opposition in the XC World Cups. Well, she hasn't run that bike all the time, but she's run it quite a lot. It's like a 2-tone sort of purpley lilac colour. And then there's Chestnut as well, which is a very nice sort of gravel, pastel-y, browny autumn vibe. So again, even all the colours are just really, really natural. And the handling is natural as well, if that isn't too much of a cheesy segue. You've got a 66-degree head angle, so not super steep, 76-degree effective seat angle. You can see there's a kink in it, so it'll change slightly depending on where you have your saddle relative to the rest of the bike. And then you've got 480mm reach on this large frame, so decent stretch on there. It doesn't fall into the older Canyon trap of being quite a short reach bike, and it's significantly longer than something like the Trail, than the Lux Trail, which is the kind of XC based downcountry bike. And then things like the fact, although it's got a tall seat tube on it, which means you're not going to get much more than that 170mm dropper post extension into this large frame. It's actually pretty low slung, so 38mm BB drop, which makes the whole bike just nice and stable. It's just a really, really forgiving bike to ride. It really hasn't, it never feels, although it's totally capable on descents and more technical stuff, it hasn't got that kind of sort of aggro agenda that many bikes have. It's just a really settled and easy bike to ride, and that extends to the suspension as well. You can see it's quite a difficult suspension system to read at first, because normally that just continues through there and the pivot's there, and you really go, well, that's obvious, an FSR Horst Link classic layout, but so is that. It's just they've upkicked that rear chainstay there, giving it a really stiff double-sided clevis joint there, and then a really stout seat stay piece there, and it's UDH, as you'd expect in this day and age. And then you've got your main pivot down there, you know, just central, bang above the chain set. And then what's a really, really long stroke shock on the back there. That's a 55mm stroke shock, whereas normally for this kind of 130mm, 120mm travel bikes, you're looking at a 40 to 45mm stroke. So again, that, you know, that really influences how the suspension works. So while they Canyon describe it as triple phase suspension, they kind of throw that at every bike they make. And while this is meant to be ultra sensitive on the start, because it's quite a long stroke, it's a little more reluctant to get moving. But the leverage is relatively conventional across the whole span of the shock in terms of compression. But because it's such a long stroke shock, it takes there's a little bit more stiction, so it takes a little bit more to get it going. But that means it's actually a really quite crisp and efficient pedaling bike to start with. And then you've got a really nice sort of comfy midsection. There's not a great deal of support. It's not a natural kind of berm ripper or pumper or anything like that. But again, that's why the Spectral exists. And this is much more sort of easy comfort bike for going long distances. And then it ramps up towards the end to give you reasonable bottom out control. But, you know, this is basic. It's float. It's actually the Rhythm, Fox Float Rhythm, which is, I've never really ridden one of these shocks before. And occasionally there's a little bit of kickabout under rebound. There's a bit of a choke. You have got to spend a bit of time getting that dial in the right place to make it, you know, properly smooth all the way through. And maybe it's just because it is, you know, Fox's cheapest shock, that if you insist on battering it down steps or into big blocks on rocky descents, then you are sometimes going to get a bit of a complaint from that shock on the rear end. But otherwise, it certainly never felt like it needed a climb switch to make it more efficient on climbs. And again, in terms of speed and efficiency, that Wicked Wheel tyre on the back, it's super ground carcass, so it's the lighter carcass. It's that blue stripe on it means that it's the Addict Speed Grip compound, so fast rolling, hard wearing compound, and that is a very, very fast tyre for a trail tyre. It's faster than it looks, but also correspondingly it's not as grippy as it looks either, especially in that compound. So be careful in more technical situations. That's liable to slip and let go quicker than you might expect. But even though it's the same compound up front, this knobby nick tyre is a little more trustworthy. But they've definitely chosen the tyres to suit the kind of easy speed, easy distance character of this bike. And while I'd probably swap it, and I know a lot of people in the live ride review who've got this bike have said, yeah, they changed the tyre spec on it, particularly for UK conditions. I mean, to be fair, if you're riding in dry and dusty stuff, you know, you're blessed with summery conditions for more of the year, then you're going to get on absolutely fine with this tyre combo, and you'll wonder what the hell I'm on about. But for the UK, I think possibly you want a slightly stickier compound to keep things calm and mellow, or I'm a little bit nervous when things get dark and wet. Other points to talk about, while we're talking about rubber, absolutely top quality contact points all the way through this bike. You've got ergon saddle, you've got ergon grips, you've got race face bar and stem. So again, you know, really well set up. You could easily skimp on contact points on a budget bike in the same way as you can only produce it in limited frame sizes, and that obviously, you know, you only sell the more popular bikes, and so you don't have to worry about making bikes that won't sell as well, which means your overheads are lower and you can offer a better price. Because that was a really long-winded way of saying props to Canyon for doing the detail on this bike rather than just going for maximum sort of profitability. And you've also got big rubber protection on the chainstays there. You've got a bit more inside the seat stays there. There's an out on the belly. Well, there's a little sort of skim of sort of Invisiframey stuff, but that might be something you want to add in there. And also you know, easily accessible bearings all the way through. You know, something that Canyon have moved towards recently is a really serviceable suspension package, and it just looks really neat the way it all lines up like that. It's a very pleasing bike from just a silhouette point of view, even though it isn't anything dramatically different. And like I say, although it is, you know, surprisingly comfortable, basically because of that front fork, because of the float shock, and also the Fox 34 rhythm fork up front, which is, you know, a favourite in terms of simple, just get on and ride performance. It's actually a very stiff frame overall, you know, big chunky back end, relatively stout front end. But even so, you know, even though you've got those big blown out head tube and head of the hydroform tubing there, which keep it all very tight and tracking really accurately as much as the tyres will allow, it's still a relatively light frame at just over 3 kilos for this alloy one. And the Neuron in carbon fibre, which again isn't that much more. I was surprised it's not that much more expensive to get onto the to get onto the carbon models in the Neuron range, and which are, you know, well under 2 kilos for the frame set, and overall weight is really impressive for this price bracket at 14.6 kilos, which is significantly lighter than anything else you're likely to find around this price point. And a lot of that is actually in these wheels, these DT Swiss all mountain line wheels, which very sturdy, you know, 30mm internal, the kind of wheels you do want. You know, again, you're not going to have any stress with these long term. Bit of a slow pickup on them, but that means a nice quiet ride when you're rolling, and very high reliability. So it makes it really, really easy to save a significant amount of weight and really pep up the performance just by swapping out to something lighter, like, say, you know, Hunt's XC alloy wheel sets, or any other, you know, good value lightweight wheel set. You'll get a real uplift in the performance of this bike with one relatively simple, not totally, with one relatively simple component change. But apart from that, you know, you've got nearly all Dior. You've got Dior shifters, you've got Dior brakes, and they're 4-pot brakes as well. So you've got maximum control up front. So, you know, 180mm rotors, really good brake. You know, one of my favourite brakes from Shimano, to be honest. Isn't the most complicated, you know, there's no bite adjuster or anything on it, but really predictable feel, really reliable performer. You've got, again, I always say this, but that Shimano dropper lever is an absolute win in my book. Not only are the ergonomics really, really similar between the two thumb paddles, but just the whole feel of it. And it's just a really nice way for, you know, again, it's a decent post. No complaints at all about this Canyon branded post, but that Shimano lever really lifts it up in terms of your actual sort of tactile experience on the bike. And then you've got Dior chain set, you've got Dior bottom bracket, you've got Dior chain, and which I think is a nice touch, that's a 30-tooth chainring on there as well. So again, it kind of reflects the fact that this is, you know, is a bike designed for sort of easier climbing, easier mileage, and just, you know, easier access into nature, as that live ride showed. So it's really nice that they put a smaller chainring on there for, you know, to give you easier gearing right through. And also that increases the effective anti-squat as well. And again, that gives it a more positive pedaling feel. And then at the rear, while they haven't upscaled the Dior rear mech, that's a common trick amongst bike brands, is to put a fancier rear mech on. What you do get is an SLX cassette on there. So that's a considerably lighter rear cassette than the standard Dior. So that's a nice little Easter egg, well, Kinder Surprise, I guess, that Canyon have put into the spec for you. And also, yeah, well, gosh, I've not even talked about the frame features. Again, really, really quiet, like that rear hub. You've got really nicely rubber damped cable entry, internals just to keep things clean, it keeps things quiet. You've got bolts there for an accessory mount, and Canyon actually do a specific custom bag that fits in there. You've got 2 bottle cage mounts on the down tube, which means you can slide that one up higher if you want, so you can put another bottle cage on there, so you've got room for 2 bottles on your longer, thirstier mountain explorations. And again, it's just a bike that's really well equipped for classic getting out there, go far mountain biking, but with the capability, control and travel to not worry about anything you might meet on the way back down, or to change the spec slightly and actually create a really good, really capable all-rounder, as a lot of the people, like I say, in the live ride review comments have already said they've done. So there you go. That's the Canyon Neuron AL6. Maybe not the most exciting bike, and I'm painfully aware that these workshop tech talk-throughs are by their nature not remotely as exciting as me ranting and raving while I'm rattling about on the trails. So, but even then, even when I shot this, and a couple of you noticed it, it was a much more mellow and relaxed pace than I normally go at. Just the whole kind of vibe of this Neuron is very much that kind of Cadbury's Rabbit advert, if you know what I'm on about. It really is. It's about embracing the kind of more natural side of mountain biking. So it's almost where this bike can take you, as much as how they put it together. But then that's the art of making a bike, isn't it? It's creating a character that all hangs together really well. What else do I have to say? Patreon, if you really like what I'm doing on the channel and this hasn't put you to sleep, or you can even do YouTube gifts now, which is a bit, just for this one, if you found it helpful. But obviously, if you're looking at bikes that are on the lower end of the price spectrum, then you're probably maybe haven't got so much to spend, in which case a like, a notification click or a subscription click still means a huge amount to the channel, and is totally free to you to do. And yeah, if you could tell your mates about the channel, even better, because the more people watching it, the more YouTube spreads the word on the channel, and the more I can get bikes in, and the more time I can spend talking to you on the camera. But for now, I've been Guy Kestevan on Guy Cares TV, talking about the Canyon Neuron AL6. An absolutely brilliant all-round package for going to find your own otters on. And if you don't know what I'm on about with that, watch the live ride review.